sensible heat. Okay, what is latent heat means? We know latent means something hide. Okay, let's talk about that. For instance, you have two glasses of beer with 0 degree centigrade temperature. You put some ice cube into one of the glass and keep the other glass without ice. Which one do you think will be cooler? Definitely the one you have put ice in it, given that the temperature for both glasses has not been changed yet. So temperature would be remain same, but the glass you put ice in it would be cooler. So what is happening here? Why you felt an ice cube glass of beer cooler than the other one without ice? Here is the fact is coming to the latent heat. The latent heat is the heat needed to change the state of matter given that the temperature didn't change. So the ice took some heat to melt the ice into liquid form into the glass. Actually, in the both glass, our temperature is not changing, but when ice is deforming to the liquid form, then in that process, the one you have put the ice in it, in that process, some energy actually releasing, absorbing. So this absorbed energy is called the latent heat. We must make sure that about one thing here, that we do not confuse ourselves. So when we are talking about the latent heat, the temperature is actually not changing here. Only the state of the object is changing, which means the ice state actually changing into the liquid form of water. And in this process, a certain amount of heat is releasing. This heat, we call it latent heat, period. And the opposite situation happens when the heat absorption, we call it sensible heat. Okay, for instance, we know that at 0 degree centigrade, water can be in the liquid and also in the solid form. That's called tipping point to change the state of water. Suppose that at 0 degree centigrade of water just form into ice crystal. In this process, a certain amount of energy released to the environment, and this released energy we call it sensible heat. So the difference between latent heat and sensible heat, we have an understanding by now, I think. And let's talk about some fact that the latent heat and sensible heat actually having modifying effect for weather and climate around us. The heat energy required to change ice into vapor, a process called sublimation. Sorry, it's sublimation. Sublimation. Sorry for the pronunciation. I have a hard time most of the time to do that. Okay, so this is actually referring to the latent heat. For a single gram of ice to transform completely into water vapor at 0 degree centigrade requires nearly 680 calories. It's a huge calorie. So what is happening in here? In the same vapor transformed back into ice, that process is called deposition. So we have sublimation and we have deposition. So sublimation is happening when the water vapor, the ice is transforming into 0 degree at the 0 degree centigrade. It starts transforming into vapor, and when vapor is actually coming back to the ice, so we also call this deposition. It's also taking the same amount of energy actually releasing to the environment when deposition happening. When sublimation happening, the energy actually absorbed. When deposition happening, energy actually releasing to the environment. So this is the fact we need to know. Well, if you look at this picture here, so when the change of state is from left to right, so we are going from left to right. What is happening here? Condensation, freezing, deposition, condensation, deposition, and freezing. So this process of melting. Um, oh, let's go from here to here. So we are going actually left to right, but this situation is telling you that we have to go going this way. Okay, let's go for it. When the change of state is from left to right here, so heat is absorbed by the substance and taken away from the environment. This process of melting, evaporation, and sublimation all cools the environment. So here is cooling the environment because for melting, the water or ice actually absorbing some energy from the environment. So in the environment, the temperature, sorry, heat is cooling. Evaporation, definitely. When evaporation happen, energy has been taken from the environment. So that's why environments become cool. So sublimation also the state change of the um, ice to water. So it's also taking energy, actually absorbing energy from the environment. So in this process, when energy is being absorbed from the environment actually being cooled. So that's the real things we are talking about. What happened when the opposite situation happened here? So when the energy actually added to the environment, the process of freezing, condensation, and also deposition. So what is happening? When freezing happens, that's mean um, the sensible heat from the water is actually releasing to the environment. So environmental temperature is increasing. So what does that mean? What is happening to the condensation? When condensation process happens, that's mean that amount of water vapor actually releasing some energy to the environment. So environment is getting energy and it is becoming warm. Similar things happening for the deposition. So that's the main message that I wanted to let you know here. So latent heat is an important source of atmospheric energy. We would say the one vapor molecule becomes separated from the Earth's surface, and they are actually swept away by the wind sometime and rising to the high altitude where the air is cold. The vapor changes into the liquid and ice cloud particle. During this process, the tremendous amount of energy actually releasing to the environment, and this heat provides energy for a storm such as hurricane, tropical cyclone, mid-latitudinal cyclone, or thunderstorm, etc. etc. Well, water vapor actually evaporated from warm tropical water can be carried into the polar region, and where it condenses and gives up its heat energy, we call it evaporation, transportation, and condensation, which is actually extremely important in the atmospheric process. Well, for this video, we have learned about specific heat, latent heat, and also we learned about sensible heat. And the most important thing from this video, we have learned how actually this process taking place to the environment as real life what is happening. So for latent heat, what is happening for the latent heat, what is happening for this specific heat. So if you have an understanding, you are able to answer all this question in the quiz and also in the exam. So I would say you would have a good understanding. If not, then I would say you repeat this video again and again and also read the book, and good luck.